You're listening to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor, powered by bbbgive.org. Here we explore the motivations that form the basis of giving and service. We inspire generosity and celebrate the transformative effects that giving and service have on the human spirit and on community. The conversations featured on the podcast also uncover giving strategies that educate and provide tools to help listeners make impactful gifts of both their time and money. We hope you enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the Heart of Giving podcast, powered by bbbgive.org. Give.org is the nation's standards-based charity evaluator, and it's your one-stop source for information on giving and reports on the most asked about charities. I'm Art Taylor, your host, and today we get to talk about blockchain and cryptocurrency and what's happening with that in the charity space. You know, we've all heard a lot about the surging and then declining prices of Bitcoin and other digital currencies. And there's been somewhat of a craze around some of the new product offerings that come out of them, things like NFTs and even the new crypto voxels world where people can take digital personas into places that are in sort of the metaverse. Well, there's also quite a bit of activity in the charity space. Our organization, for one, created a product called GiveSafely.io, which is a platform that enables charities to receive donations from individuals in the form of cryptocurrency or cash, and actually receive something in return for those donations. We call those wise giving points. And it allows charities and donors to grow closer to each other because people can redeem those points for different experiences. Well, in addition to what we've done, there is an organization called the Giving Block. And Pat Duffy, its co-founder, is here to talk with me about the great work at the Giving Block, which has blown up the opportunities for charities to receive donations in various digital currencies. And so we're going to talk about this new partnership that we formed with the Giving Block and Pat's organization to make the experience even more robust for charities and donors. Pat, welcome to the Heart of Giving podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Pat, so I'd like to start the interview just by asking you a little bit about yourself. Where are you from and how did you get an interest in this particular area of technology, cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Yeah, so I'm from New Jersey originally. Grew up there, went to school in North Carolina, which is where I met my co-founder, Alex Wilson, at Wake Forest. Moved to DC to do pharmaceutical consulting, more or less for lobbyists, working on alliance development, so helping them work with charitable organizations, voluntary health associations to lobby Capitol Hill when there was an opportunity, to pretty much align around a policy position that protected patient access that also worked for the companies. Around the same time that I left the consulting arena to work for one of those voluntary health associations, Alex got me into trading cryptocurrencies in 2017, which was an exciting year to be in the space when Bitcoin was hitting its all-time highs toward the end of that year. And that was around the same time Pineapple Fund, the Ashton Kutcher donation on the Ellen DeGeneres show, some big picture crypto donations were popping off for the first time. And the stars just sort of aligned around that. We were into crypto, we were into the charitable space. We decided it was kind of time to bring the two things together.
Well, your story is kind of interesting. It's somewhat similar to mine. Also around that time, I began thinking about ways charities could benefit from blockchain technology. The craze was, of course, the cryptocurrency, as you talk about it. You know, everyone was thinking about taking an investment in Bitcoin or Ethereum or some digital currency. And there was quite a bit of investment going into initial coin offerings and other things at the time. And so we were all kind of, focused on that. but my attention was really on the technology, and I was following what banks were saying. Many banks were saying this could revolutionize how we transact in the financial space, and I wanted to find out more about it. So I actually took a class in they called it blockchain strategy, believe it or not, blockchain strategy, and really got a chance to understand the power of the underlying technology. But clearly, while the technology itself is very powerful and can do so many things that we haven't even begun to address yet, the focus continues to be on finding ways for charities to receive donations in these digital currency. And as you point out, there's a lot of activity. What are some of the things that are going on, some of the exciting developments that you've seen so far?
Yeah, it's an interesting space. There's, I guess, two sides of it. One side is what's driving the donors, right? When it comes to them giving cryptocurrency to charities, why is this evolving as a pool of capital that nonprofits have access to begin with? Um, and then there's sort of the side of what is setting certain charities, foundations, faith-based organizations, universities, donor advised funds apart from other ones in terms of actively fundraising it effectively. On the donor side, the calculus is relatively simple. It's just kind of a tax incentive. So when you give cash to a charity, you get a write-off, which everyone's aware of on the major gift end. When you donate property assets, though, stocks, cryptocurrency, a house, a car, a jet ski, if you transfer property ownership directly to a charity without selling it, you don't trigger a taxable event, so the charity gets the full value and you owe no capital gains taxes. So if you have something like a cryptocurrency, which the market cap is up about 12x over the last 2 years, the long-term capital gains liability that you have as an individual is very high. The $1 million you have in crypto is worth much less once you actually sell it and go to use it somewhere. The one area where that's not the case is if you give it to a charity. It's the only place where otherwise taxable crypto is not taxable and worth its actual full market value. So anyone who wants to do something charitable who has crypto holdings, it's usually more appreciated than their other property assets just because crypto is the best performing asset class of the last 5 years, the last 10 years, et cetera. So there's just really strong tax incentive for people to give. So tax literacy, clarity from the IRS, especially in the last 3-4 years, and then active fundraising has just made this more front of mind for crypto holders. And then traditional donors who have gotten into crypto are backing down from their most appreciated assets first when they give. So that just tends to be starting with crypto a little more often. And then on the nonprofit side, it's not exciting necessarily. I know people think it's like the nonprofits who really understand smart contracts or they're doing NFT drops or DAOs, something exciting. Those things are driving donation volume and they're creating fun initiatives, but it really comes down to charities who are good at fundraising are good at fundraising crypto. The organizations that understand the nuts and bolts, they create a crypto fundraising identity. They say, you give us this much crypto, here's exactly where it goes. We're going to build a school with crypto, right? Like those are the sorts of stories that resonate with donors. Those are the same stories that resonate with crypto donors. And then the really sophisticated ones are like reporting on impact, building programs. And as a result, they have 7-8 figure annual cryptocurrency fundraising programs that are becoming core pillars of their revenue channels.
Yeah, we've seen this story told before when Text to Give came out. Everyone decided to get a short code and they thought that suddenly they were going to get flooded with donations. Well, unless you make any platform, in the case I'm talking about, the Text to Give platform, part of your fundraising platform overall, part of your fundraising plan and your outreach, you're not really going to raise much. The platform itself is just a tool, but you still have to have great fundraising bones inside of your organization. So it's
Yeah.
important that you point that out. Well, how much? There was this event I understand that you helped launch called Crypto Tuesday. And I understand it was quite successful. Where did that idea come from, and what did you see in terms of results?
Yeah, it's Crypto Giving Tuesday. I know it's confusing. Half of our clients call it Crypto Tuesday, so I don't blame you at all. Maybe we
No,
we
the Giving
misnamed it.
Tuesday people love it. I had a talk with Asha Curran about it, and she was really
Oh,
excited.
good.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
really excited about how people use the day, Giving Tuesday, and
it's
make it their own. So go ahead.
yeah, no, absolutely. Crypto Giving Tuesday is it's a can of worms, and it's like one of the most fun things we do every year. Though there's a couple interesting aspects to it. But to answer your question about like how it came to be, you're exactly right in your previous comment, pretty much saying the text to give model, where it's just like if you build it, they will come. It would be cryptocurrency fundraising often gets treated that way and talked about that way, where you can just like pop up a wallet address and suddenly you're flooded with new donors and the world gets promised to a lot of charities. Um, this campaign, among other things we do, is an example of some of the things we're doing to not just provide a technical solution to charities, but to build connective tissue between crypto users and the charities who accept cryptocurrency. Um, Pretty much knowing that, like you said with text to give, it's not like everyone who texts is suddenly going to find your charity. And it's not like everyone who uses crypto is going to find the nonprofits accepting it. So we work on both sides of that fence. On the events opportunity side for crypto users, we build the crypto philanthropy programs for companies in the space. So it's like the CSR things that any major crypto company, NFT platform wants to do. They tend to be building those with us, everything from a portal where their employees themselves can donate crypto directly to the charities they want to support, or fundraising days, donating a percentage of their fees to charity on a big day. Um, the Crypto Giving Pledge is an opportunity for crypto users anywhere to pledge 1% of their crypto holdings to charities every year, companies 1% of their revenue. And then we have events and opportunities for end of year campaigns for the charities to actively fundraise toward those audiences, and for the companies and individuals who want to do something powerful with their crypto to all rally together around big opportunities. So Crypto Giving Tuesday kicks off what we call bag season, which used to be Bitcoin annual giving. Um, but bag season, just the annual end of year campaign for crypto users and nonprofits to come together. Crypto Giving Tuesday kicks that off. We do NF Tuesday the week after for the NFT community. We do Causes Week this week to highlight all of the nonprofit organizations and interesting donors who give to them. Rainn Wilson, who's Dwight from The Office, or Tony Hawk from the Skate Park Project. Those sorts of interesting stories. And then the last week is just all focused on that tax incentive, pretty much saying you have a choice. You can either give your crypto to a charity that you love, or you can give it to the IRS. And in a year like this, where it's a bull market and prices are up a lot, that is the choice that donors have to give, because otherwise they're going to have to exit their positions paying capital gains if they're donating cash instead.
Yeah, Pat, let me ask you how we did so far this year. What are you seeing in terms of numbers of donors, or the amount of money actually contributed in digital currencies this year? And what do you see as the potential for this in the future?
Yeah, in our first couple of years, like 2018, 2019, it was all end of year focused, pretty much. It was like the last month of the year was almost all of our volume. Um, Last year we had a balance where end of year we raised like Q4 as much as the rest of the year combined. Um, Last year we raised $4.2 million across the platform. We had about 100 nonprofits we were supporting. This year we're at about 60 million raised. We're trying to raise 100 million before the end of the year. I forget what the statistic is. I think it's 14 or 15% of all charitable giving happens in the last 3 days of the year, especially in non-cash assets where it's a tax offset. So we have to fly blind as we go into the last couple of weeks, where we get that last 2 week surge. Sometimes you get an 8-figure crypto donation. So we'll see. We're trying to hit $100 million, which is a pretty ambitious goal after having raised 4.2 last year. So we're up more than 10x on donation volume. We're also up about 10x on nonprofit supported. We're a little over 1,000 active clients currently. And then, yeah, I guess on like a per nonprofit basis, which is what's important, because there are donor advised funds that have gigantic revenue pools, which we separate out from that number. So like, for instance, the biggest donor advised fund that we signed this year is on track to do close to $500 million in crypto donations. That's not the same as what charities can fundraise. That's like a big institutional program with an existing donor base that passively funnels through. On a per charity basis, we have hundreds of nonprofits with 5-figure programs. And like one of our big goals this year is we want to get over 100 clients who are raising 6 figures in crypto. So I guess what we're proud of is the consistency, just because, like you said, if you build it, they will come. There's never been a cryptocurrency fundraising platform where nonprofits, like you said, with Text to Give, can have a solution and consistently fundraise kind of effectively, regardless of their background. That's something we're proud of, the degree to which we've stewarded donors and driven those activations, and then trained nonprofits pretty effectively to fundraise crypto. It's working, I guess, is the long story short.
Yeah. So let's talk about your organization and what you provide for charities that use your services.
Yeah. Two things, I guess, that are not top of mind, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts, the tech and the actual solution. One thing is our client success team, which is sort of a blend between technical and compliance and accounting, just all the traditional support you would expect, and then donor and nonprofit support around like nonprofit and giving specific questions. So nonprofits get a lot of interesting inquiries. Hey, we are an NFT project. We want to donate a percentage of our proceeds. Here's the platform we're launching on. And they just forward us stuff and they're like, is this nonsense? Is this amazing? Which would otherwise, take a couple hours on a Saturday. We provide a lot of value in terms of screening opportunities and just preventing the waste of time. We're constantly trying to, I guess, like evaluate with our nonprofits, like how much time can we save an organization over the course of the year answering these questions using our knowledge base that would otherwise be either flying blind or having to figure out a lot of stuff from scratch. And then the other thing we do is we are the fund police, which is, I take a lot of pride in, I guess, the way that we operate as a company. In our early days, we were not that. We were going into nonprofit organizations. We were like, you should accept crypto. You should also create a patient registry using blockchain where the patients who register their data can get paid out in this token with a full end-to-end blockchain solution with transparency around like the transfer of data. And we just see a lot of nonprofits where crypto is the most exciting thing in their life, or a lot of donors who want to tie nonprofits into the creation of some NFT gallery that's going to drive users through in a VR experience. And it's just like, this is not a good use of time. It's very fun. It's very exciting. It'll be resource intensive. It's low likelihood of actually working. Let's focus on, your landing page and the thumbnail that'll be compelling when people share a link. We do a lot of that where we have to kind of like reel in people who are experiencing something really fun, exciting, and pretty much say, that's not what's best for your organization. So we've slowly become sort of like the boomers of the crypto fundraising space, and just really focused on making sure that every nonprofit establishes a really consistent fundraising base. Like, do your major gift prospects know that you take crypto? Is your landing page search engine optimized? Like, we're very, very, it's a very white glove, hyper focused service, making sure all the nuts and bolts are in place. And then there's the solution and the other stuff we do from a fundraising standpoint, like the actual partnerships and what we're building. The technical solution does the basic stuff you would expect: accept cryptocurrency, automatically convert it to USD. And then in the event that nonprofits are building endowments, we do treasury management around holding cryptocurrency, investing into it, earning interest on stables with the principal remaining intact. And on the fundraising side, we run the largest crypto fundraising platform, just doing the most donor volume year over year. And that platform drives 80% of the donation volume that we're processing still to this day, which is pretty exciting. So we are, through integrations on crypto exchanges, through partnerships, through campaigns that we run, and then through search engine optimization and the building of that platform, aggregating the charities that we support, driving $40,000 in donation volume to our charities for every 10,000 we're processing.
Fantastic. Well, we're really excited about the partnership that we formed to make sure that any charity that is accredited by the BBB Wise Giving Alliance has a place to position themselves on Give Safely. And of course, they can receive crypto donations. And our partnership with you enables them to have those donations immediately converted to cash if that's their choice. And we always felt that we would get something going and then see what's going on in the nonprofit infrastructure around cryptocurrency and try to partner with others who've added on interesting features that can create greater opportunities for these most trusted charities. And so we're really happy that we've been able to work together on this. And we just see that there are going to be many other opportunities, hopefully, to drive greater donations to trustworthy organizations. In fact, one of the things I'm really excited about too is that we're going to soon have a way for any accredited charity that receives donations through the Giving Block. They'll have a special designation on their place on the Giving Block that shows that they are accredited by the Wise Giving Alliance. So we're really excited about that, and I know the charities are too. So let me ask you: do you see the new features, any new features coming along that charities should be thinking about as you begin to build out the Giving Block?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's two core buckets for these, like features that we create in general. One is ease of use, simplicity, in short, reducing the amount of time that nonprofits need to spend managing whatever it is. So that comes down to integrations into the major existing nonprofit payment processing companies, the CRM solutions, everything that just makes life easier for the nonprofit to interface with everything we do. So we've already done a handful of really interesting ones. Neon CRM, which is one of the fastest growing in the industry, with thousands of charity clients. Give Campus, which is the leading payment processor for universities and higher ed, the Ivy Leagues and those sorts of organizations. And then next year, all of the big marquee brands, for the most part, we either have a contract in place or are locking one in. So those integrations are very important in terms of saving nonprofits time. Then it comes down to sort of basic stuff around the efficiency of our dashboard and the solution itself. And then answering questions, things like handbooks, resources, reference points, so that our customer success journey and like our customer support journey is like one of the main reasons that the major institutions, any blue chip nonprofit or university, donor advised funds, foundations, they nearly 100% are using us, just because it's the most expert team to answer certain questions. We're trying to boil that into material sets so that they don't even have to wait for a response. Because if we get really overloaded, if it's an important question, it's taking a day and a half to resolve through a back and forth, which should be captured into something more like a knowledge base. We're just kind of an early stage company. So we're trying to capture those things into more universally accessible resources that nonprofits can reference without needing to get in touch with an individual on our team, though they'll always have them at their disposal. Those are sort of the boring efficiency related things that are just important, right? You want the organizations that we serve to have as little friction as possible interfacing with the solution, and getting back to focusing on their mission. And then the other side is the fundraising side, which is our bread and butter, right? Making sure that if you are an organization who's taking crypto right now, you are getting a jump on what is, one of the, if not the most important new fundraising arenas for nonprofits, billions of dollars on the table, potential volume in the coming years. We want to make sure that we are activating our nonprofits more effectively. So in short, we have nonprofits who are fundraising really effectively, dramatically more effectively than any solution ever. But we want to make sure that even for really small nonprofits in particular, who don't necessarily have the nuts and bolts of a traditional fundraising program already in place, that they can still be successful crypto fundraising. Right now, it still looks like there's a lot of parity between the degree to which you are a good fundraising nonprofit and the degree to which you fundraise cryptocurrency effectively. there's pretty much a one-to-one sync up there. If you're a nonprofit with a stable revenue budget, good development program, you fundraise crypto effectively using our tools and our resources. We want to create a better path, I guess, for smaller organizations, because right now it's not worth our organization's time to try to build up a program like that from scratch and teach the fundamentals of fundraising to each individual organization. It's just not efficient. And then for that organization, their time is usually better spent focusing on mobile optimizing their site, adding more accessible traditional payment methods, PayPal, Venmo, et cetera, for younger donors, getting their social media game up to speed. They're usually kind of jumping the gun when it comes to crypto. I would love to create a better bridge for small nonprofits who are agile and excited about crypto without it becoming what I think is sort of a waste of time for their team when they don't have some of the more stable pieces already in place. I think that's something we want to be more focused on.
So what are some of the barriers that charities discuss in terms of getting into crypto donations?
That's a great question. They're not going to want to hear this, but it's almost all of it is in their heads. It's very similar to practically anything. If you have a friend who you're trying to encourage to take on any sort of lifestyle thing that's probably good for them, but feels like a big leap. You're trying to get someone to just start exercising. If you're like, you could just start walking every day and see how it goes from there, or just like starting on a diet, be like, just try cutting one thing out and see how it goes. Most nonprofits aren't even looking at it. And like, that's the big issue. It's not a matter of nonprofits like spend a few hours really digging in on crypto, whether or not it's adopted mainstream, the growth of the ecosystem, major banks just opening trading desks, and they're like, still doesn't feel legit. There's sort of it doesn't feel like this is happening yet type vibe, but it's coming out of nonprofits who just aren't really looking at it. For the most part, organizations who look at crypto want to do something with it in some way, shape, or form. The tax incentive is so well aligned, and there's so much appreciated crypto out in the ecosystem, just trillions of dollars, that it's just from a mathematical standpoint, it makes sense to just be able to accept it in some way, shape, or form. Then the second consideration, which is a barrier, where it's reasonable to go in either direction, is do you want to actively fundraise it? Like, that's where we are focused. Nonprofits who don't want to just pop a wallet on their site and see what happens. They want to actively get in front of crypto users and build crypto into an active and sustainable revenue channel. That's not for everybody, right? You might make a list of priorities, things you want to get better at, how you want to innovate, and crypto ends up 5th or 6th on the list. Perfectly appropriate for that to happen. Of course, there's other things nonprofits need to focus on. It's just a matter of that first consideration, though. Most nonprofits haven't looked at, and I guess the best example would be when we talk to universities. We set up their advancement departments to take crypto. We often talk to their endowment folks, and we get the same question all the time. They're like, okay, we're taking crypto now. Should we as the endowment be looking at investing in crypto, like diversifying our capital into crypto? And we say, we need to find a nicer way of saying it, but it's pretty much, in short, crypto is the best performing asset class of the last 5 years. It's also the best performing asset class of the last 10 years. It's up, again, 1,200% in the last 2 years. It's adopted by pretty much every major financial institution. 95% of hedge funds are invested into it or investing into it. In short, if your job is to manage a big pile of money as effectively as you can, and you haven't even looked at it yet, then yeah, that's a gigantic problem. And of course you should be looking at it. Now you can say no and be like, it still feels volatile and maybe we'll look at this next year. But if you haven't even thought about it, yeah, that's a problem. We feel the same way about charities. So to answer your question, the biggest issue and barrier for charities is they're not taking the time to think about things like crypto.
Wow. Well, that's kind of interesting, because as you say, there certainly is going to be some opportunities. On the other hand, who are the crypto donors? Do we have some profile classes of people who are actually donating to charities using digital currencies?
Yes. And there are unique features to subsects of them that sometimes get confused for the whole. So like one big misconception is that, crypto users give anonymously in some disproportionate way. We've not done a good job communicating around that, I guess, just because we have an anonymous option on our site for donors. our anonymous option gets used as much as the Facebook fundraiser anonymous option. So Facebook fundraisers allow donors to opt out of giving the charity their personal information. We have that same option. It's usually somewhere in the range of 70% or so on Facebook. We have the exact same stats. So like one misconception I would say is that in terms of the standard demographics, age range, late 20s, early 30s is the norm. That's starting to creep up with more institutional adoption as older folks are starting to invest into it more, and more traditional financial institutions are moving capital off of their balance sheets into crypto, or I guess moving crypto onto their balance sheets. That's an interesting trend. So if you look at the percentage of crypto users who are millennials and Gen Zs, that's 90% plus. If you look at the percentage of wealth that is held in crypto, the majority is held by boomers and Gen Xs, though. Just because they have so much more capital, their relatively minimal diversification into crypto accounts for the majority of the wealth. So that's an interesting thing for nonprofits who go, we have an older donor demographic. It's like if you have a donor who gives you $1 million a year, they've diversified into crypto. That's probably their most appreciated asset this year. That's where they're going to start. So it's probably a good thing to take. Another, I guess, interesting thing people think about is holding the crypto. Donors are often coming to us, not a majority, again, it's a vocal minority of crypto donors, but they like nonprofits holding the crypto that they're giving to them, which puts nonprofits in an interesting position to sort of open an endowment for the first time. We find that really exciting. One thing we recommend, though, is don't just hold it. We've seen major charities make this mistake where they go, you give us cryptocurrency, we'll hold it for a 3 to 5 year period as a trust and endowment, whatever else it is, and then we'll use it for our mission. Most crypto donors are still donors. Like they don't like that. They don't want the money to not go toward anything immediately. So giving donors, though, the option to either hold your crypto or accept it directly is something some nonprofits are experimenting with. There are complexities around that. But donors from the crypto ecosystem are more often than ever coming to nonprofits and saying, I'm going to give you $1 million in Bitcoin or whatever it might be, and I want you to hold it, which is unlocking this really interesting consideration for the first time, the ability for charities to build long-term, stable financial situations. Whereas we have this really weird, I think, culture where you're supposed to get all of the money out the door every year, which is like, you would never tell parents that like if they take some money and put it away for a college fund, that they should be spending it on your clothes and your meals for this year for your kid. It's like, that's just a silly way to build, a long-term stable situation for anyone, let alone like a charitable mission that's trying to solve a long tail problem. I think crypto donors, because of that vocal minority, will start shifting the Overton window in the nonprofit space and getting more nonprofits comfortable with the idea of saying, we're going to start holding some of our money. We're going to put it away for a rainy day to prevent sort of a breaking point in our mission where if we run out or we hit a shortfall, one of these programs we're developing is somehow going to break. I think that's a healthy shift for the ecosystem. And I think crypto donors are going to be the primary, if not a primary driver of that. So those are some interesting demographic components.
There's so many reasons why charities need to have policies that talk about reserves and make sure that they understand what they're holding and why they're holding it and how long they believe they should hold it, because you want to be able to take advantage of opportunities when they come up to further your mission. And we're in such a dynamic world right now. We never know when those opportunities will come up. We can always expect that, given the way things are changing, that there are going to be new ways for us to move forward with our objectives and to serve our mission, communities, and stakeholders. And having some money in reserve to be able to do that is important. At the same time, it's challenging to say to an organization, oh, we have an opportunity to do something today, but let's hold on to that money until we have a rainy day when we really need it, rather than take advantage of the opportunity. So I guess that is sort of the conundrum that some organizations feel, when they have money invested or they're holding money. Do we take it now and really go after this goal, that we have, or do we, just sort of hold on to it and wait for a rainy day? And clearly, boards of organizations, along with their teams, need to think about what's best for them and the kind of objectives and missions that they're really out there trying to solve. Some of them will be very long term, but there may also be opportunities to make a real dent in a problem by investing today. So organizations really have to think about that. Well, let me ask you this: if I was a young person today thinking about investing in a charitable activity, um, what would be some of my concerns, if I had any, about maybe taking some of my crypto, which, I'm thinking personally about holding on and maybe making part of my long term portfolio, investment portfolio? Would I actually want to use that today, or would I want to hold on to it and let it appreciate? As you mentioned, it's one of the fastest appreciating assets that we see. If my horizon is long term in terms of creating wealth for my family, is that something that I want to use today, or would it make more sense for me to use another asset to
This
make those
is
charitable donations?
it's such a good question, and we never get asked it. So, thank you,
Wow.
first of all, for asking that question. This is one of the um, most interesting and important puzzles of crypto philanthropy, just in general. And there's this weird psychological gap between the nonprofit ecosystem and the donors, and it comes down to tax and financial literacy, and then these weird baked-in cultures. So nonprofits fundraise on the fly, right, with calls to action. They go, hey, donate now to support this thing, whatever it might be, which is totally separate from the major gifts, plan giving, long-term lens of tax planning considerations and a big lump sum that you're making a transfer very deliberately after long consideration. Crypto is designed to be more the latter, right, that transfer process. But then the other side of it is on the crypto culture side, crypto users have hodl culture deeply ingrained into their blood. So stone hands, you'll see all the time, laser eyes, where it's just you clutch onto your crypto and you'd rather give up anything. You'll sell your house before you sell your crypto. That's so deeply ingrained into the culture. However, that has nothing to do with donating crypto. Donating crypto is not spending crypto. Donating crypto is not losing crypto. Donating crypto is one of the ways that you can donate to a nonprofit, and you still have your cash afterwards, which you can use to buy crypto. So I wish there was a really simple way of putting it, but if you have $1 million sitting in the bank and $1 million sitting in crypto, all the time, crypto users are giving that $1 million to a charity from the bank because they don't want to give up their Bitcoin. But their Bitcoin is sitting there with if it's $1 million, call it a $300,000 tax liability because it's up so much because they bought it in the early days. It's only worth $700,000. They only have $700,000 of value post-tax in that crypto portfolio. They could give the $1 million in Bitcoin to the charity, take the $1 million they have in the bank to buy Bitcoin, and now what you have is $1 million in Bitcoin bought at today's cost basis with no tax burden associated with it at all. You increase your crypto holdings by donating crypto and using the USD you otherwise would have given to purchase crypto at a higher cost basis, just because that reduces your tax liability. So it's just a tax literacy component. So people think about donating crypto as giving it away, and often donors still do that just because crypto is the only way they can give on our platform, and they love the charity or a campaign we're running, and they go, I don't want to give up crypto, but because this is the only option, I guess I'll do it. And then they write to us and they're like, you should put in, why can't we just send a wire? And we have to educate crypto donors. But anyway, so in short, to your question, it's a huge problem, and we have to do so much education. We work with accountants and just CPAs, firms all over the place. We're doing webinars. We're constantly trying to explain to crypto users, donating crypto is not losing crypto. Donating crypto is a way to increase your crypto holdings if you're going to be giving to a charity anyway. Now, if you're not going to give to a charity and then you give crypto, then yes, you would be decreasing your position, because even when you buy it back, obviously you're still giving away money to a charity. It helps on your tax position. But if you are a crypto holder who's giving USD to a charity, you are reducing your ability to build crypto wealth, just from a full mathematical standpoint, just full stop.
Yeah. Well, I have one last question for you before we wrap up. And it's this: if we're having this conversation 5 years from now, what are you telling me about some of the most significant developments since today, our last time we talked?
I mean, I would hope that crypto is boring at that point and that we're all on to something else. Like that would be my hope, is that crypto donors are like credit card donors. And if you're like, where are my credit card donors at a gala? Like, no one cares. They're like, what does that even mean? Because it's so widely adopted, it just fades to black, sort of like stocks or credit cards, whatever else. That would be my dream. My dream would be no one cares about it at all. In the same way, when you sign up for Facebook, no one's telling you need to build like a server to use Facebook. But like every time we talk about crypto, they have to put in a slide about mining for some reason, which I find absurd. Like the degree to which there's this intellectual gatekeeping and this made up unnecessary threshold of understanding people need to hit before they get it, as if people understand combustion in car engines before they like pick up a Ford. It's I think it's arbitrary and silly, and it's just kind of a sign of how early we still are, which gives opportunities an amazing or nonprofits an amazing opportunity to get out in front of this donor base and like carve out a bigger slice of the pie when it's less crowded. But I would hope 5 years from now we're all talking about something else. I would hope it just becomes something lame and boring, and that my position as like a crypto expert in the nonprofit space means nothing to anybody. It's just like saying you're an internet expert, and we all need to get more specialized. But yeah, in terms of the crypto trends that I think will make that happen, though, I would say stablecoin adoption is one of the biggest pieces. So cryptocurrencies pegged to the value of the US dollar just to make regular transactions more efficient. So people are actually spending it day to day on a cup of coffee or tickets to a baseball game. I think that's going to be one of the biggest areas, because once people are holding stable USD value in cryptocurrencies and can earn such high interest and yield on it, then that's what they're going to be invoiced out of those accounts. That's how they'll be spending their dollars day to day. And it sort of erases the need to have a bank account where you get like 0.1% interest annually while the bank makes infinite amounts of money. I think crypto has an opportunity to intermediate that or disintermediate it. And I think that'll unlock the biggest kind of growth curve.
Great. Well, you've been listening to Pat Duffy, who is the co-founder of the Giving Block, which is a technology that helps charities raise funds through cryptocurrencies and actually increase what they're able to do from a programmatic standpoint. I am really impressed by what you guys are doing over there, and I wish you continued success. And let's see, 5 years is not a long time in the world of technology, and a lot of things can happen. But we'll see, how many of those thoughts of yours come true, particularly the ones around whether we're even talking about cryptocurrency as a thing. This is the Heart of Giving podcast. I'm Art Taylor, your host. You can find us for other episodes on all major podcast platforms, and I hope you do. Don't forget to check out Give Safely while you're thinking about your crypto donations as well, givesafely.io. And we are hopeful that this will be an amazing year in all forms of giving, especially crypto. Thanks for listening.
You've just listened to the Heart of Giving podcast with Art Taylor. Be sure to tune in next time for a brand new episode. To listen to our other interviews, visit heartgiving.podbean.com. That's heartgiving.podbean.com. Subscribe to our show on major podcast platforms. The thoughts and opinions expressed on this podcast are the views and opinions of the guests, not those of the BBB Wise Giving Alliance or program affiliates. This podcast is for information and educational purposes only and is copyrighted with all rights reserved. This podcast is protected by Podbean's terms of service.